We've done this thing where no one is ever allowed to be honest that's what it is. And to start this radio show, I'll admit something. Okay. I have not gotten every analysis of every player right. Matter of fact, I've gotten some very wrong. Some I've oversold and thought they were better than they were. Some I've undersold. And especially in basketball, like, look, I'll admit it. I didn't think Lamar Jackson was going to be a very good pro. I've always been a guy that thought Sam Darnold has the makeup of somebody who would be better. I'm wrong. I am hopeful that Sam Darnold gets his chance with a good football team this year and a good system, one that he knows coming up from San Francisco with the Minnesota Vikings. But let's be honest, he's become a journeyman. Lamar Jackson has been a two-time MVP. And all I had with my data was my eyes and people I talked to. And, the last couple times I saw him play, Lamar Jackson's last bowl game was against Mississippi State. He was awful, awful. And we took the questions about his speed and his lack of desire to play another position, and we made it into a million things it was not. What it was like he was so inaccurate at times that a lot of people were like, are you sure you're going to play my quarterback? Because as incredible as he is with the football, like, you got to be accurate to be an NFL quarterback. And you got to be able to throw outside the numbers and push the ball downfield more than just out of play action. But Lamar Jackson has improved steadily, was initially put in a system where it brought out the best in him. And conversely, Sam Darnold was playing for a terrible team, a terrible coach, lost his confidence, and all of his bad habits came out. And he's now on his fourth team in the NFL. So I've not gotten everyone right. This one I've got right. Okay. Bronny James is struggling, and I'm not dancing on his grave. I'm not laughing at him. I'm telling you, I know what it takes to make an NBA team, and I saw all this coming. If you've listened to this show for the last year and a half, you're sitting there nodding your head going, you were right. But I'm not like rubbing your nose and not taking a victory lap in it. I'm telling you that what happens out of it, and it still happened today, is that people make it out that you're hating or even trolling when you give an opinion that is not seen as positive towards LeBron James Jr., aka Bronny James. Okay. Two things happened in succession. First, there was some lip reading of Jaylen Brown last night. Jaylen Brown went to the game last night with Angel Reese and his girlfriend. His girlfriend is a former WNBA player. I think she's played for like 8 teams. And at some point during the game, when Bronny struggled, he shot 2 air balls. He wasn't particularly good. Jaylen Brown turned to her and said, I don't think he's a pro. And she said, yeah, I think he'll play in the G League. And he said, no, he'll be on the Lakers because of his name. Right? It was pretty obvious lip reading. I'm not a lip reading specialist. I'm definitely not the lip reader on Seinfeld, but it's not that hard to guess that was what he was lipping. So instead of denying it, here's what Jaylen Brown said when he quote tweeted it earlier today. It's a flex to have your son alongside you in the NBA. It reflects on greatness and longevity. Bronny has all the tools around him to be successful. I look forward to watching his growth. In other words, do you not realize that this doesn't happen? Jaylen Brown did not deny what we all read his lips to say. And even in his statement of he has all the tools around him, he didn't say he has all the tools. He says he has everybody helping him in order for him to be a pro. A couple of days ago, I was asked on Twitter if Bronny James would be my best player. I can't remember what the actual question was, but it was essentially would Bronny start for you? And my answer Uh, well, my answer. So here's the question, Doug. Is Bronny good enough to start for your team in Wisconsin? Be honest, answer the question, Doug. Could you work with them and get them NBA ready? Okay. And my answer was he would compete to start. But while I like how he moves the ball and defends, he wouldn't be my point. I don't see view him as point guard. He doesn't play point guard. He doesn't want the ball. He doesn't run a team. He doesn't want to defend the point guard. He doesn't play like a point. So he wouldn't be my point. My wings are bigger. And without seeing him with us, I think it would be hard for him to start, to be honest. Well, who do you have starting at the wings? I have a young man named Anthony Roy will very likely start at a wing. He was a NAIA All-American. Now he's well traveled. We're actually his fifth school. He's played Division I basketball at New Mexico State, at San Francisco. He's just older, more experienced, and frankly, he's a better. I have to have somebody who can score. Anthony Roy can score. The other wing, I have a lot of other options. One of which is Foster Wonders, who's an elite shooter. I think he shot well into the mid 40s from three last year, and he's 6'5". So Dan, none of this has. I have Donovan Santoro, who's only played a year, barely played at Providence last year. He's 6'8". If you actually read my tweet, it's an accurate depiction of what I think of him. He's not a point guard. My point guard would be Jeremiah Johnson, very likely. Jeremiah Johnson is a top 150 recruit. He's actually older than Bronny James. He's 20, going to be 21 years old. I think he's a better pro prospect than Bronny James. Right? He's about 6'2". He's a tremendous scorer. He played for OTE this year. None of this is trolling. So look, we got to get out of the whole, well, if you had negative comments about Bronny, all I've ever said is, it was a joke he was a McDonald's All-American last year. It's equally laughable that he was drafted this year and that people actually fell for the whole Rich Paul, there's no package deal with him and LeBron. Other teams, we told him not to draft him. Nobody thought he was going to be drafted or should be drafted that spot. And we put a young man in a position to fail. And now what's very likely to happen is you kill any of his confidence. And now, even if he ever develops and becomes good enough to get real minutes in the NBA, no one's going to take it seriously. JJ Redick said he'd earned it because he'd worked hard. This is nothing more. And I coached AAU basketball. So, Dan, I actually know what the hell I'm talking about. Every parent you have, myself included with my own kid, believes their kid is a little bit better or a lot better than they actually are. And I think what happened with LeBron is, one, he thinks his kid's really good. Two, he sees how hard his kid works, not having the perspective of, hey, everybody works that hard. Like, you wouldn't believe the volume of shots and work that my players do. Last year, as you know, I consulted Oklahoma State, that those guys did. There's a young man named John Michael Wright. Shout out to John Michael Wright. He shot 25,000 threes last summer. They used a technology called Shot Tracker. They documented he shot 25,000 threes last summer. Amazing. And all LeBron's guilty of is being the overly ambitious parent and using all of his weight to get his kid to a level that's beyond his level of competency. As we told you before, that's Peter Principle. And when Jaylen Brown says it, he means it. Of course he means it. When I say it, of course I mean it. But instead, this gets skewed into you're a hater, or now I'm trolling. I wasn't trolling. I was asked a question. I gave an honest answer. That's not trolling. Oh yeah, by the way, there's a portion of it where, like, I like the players that I recruited. By the way, I would love to coach Bronny James at this level. I've told people, which now people are coming around to, he should have gone to Duquesne. Go to Duquesne, play for a year, 2 years, get supreme self-confidence in what you're doing. Establish an identity for who you are. I mean, if you really want to get down to what happened was the first game or two, he just went out there and played. And people are like, well, he's not attacking. He's not doing much. Like, that's actually how he plays. I've seen him play 100 times. That's how he plays. And then when he had that really tough one where he was what was he like? He shot the ball very poorly. I want to say 4 for 13, but I could be wrong with the stats. The point is that that was a game where, and he had no assists. That was a game where he was trying to do something which is kind of step out of body, which is trying to be an offensive guy and take over games. Like that ain't who he is. Now, look, that's not bad. If you come to Green Bay and a coach is behind you in doing it, if you go to Duquesne, which is a higher level than the A10 is a higher level than our level, you go to Duquesne and your coach gives you the green light, like eventually you can get there. But that's not what the NBA is, and he's not good enough to do that in the G League. And I think the process of trying to get him to that point is going to kill his confidence. And if it doesn't kill his confidence, it's going to kill everybody around him because they're all going to roll their eyes. Because it's supposed to be professional basketball, and professional basketball is supposed to be about winning games, and winning games is about being putting the best players out there.